Hey, my beautiful soul tribe. Welcome back to the soulSHINE space. I have been really enjoying leaning into this heart-led space with you, and I hope that you have too. In the last episode, we talked about loving your life more when you come from a heart-led approach. And I just wanted to take another episode to continue to explore how that could look like. Because for so many of us, I think the reason we don't make decisions from a heart-led space and we do it from logic or from our minds is because it's the safer option. It's the more obvious option. And living from our hearts takes a lot of bravery, a lot of courage. The courage to get it wrong, the courage to fail, the courage to let others judge you. And one thing that we really briefly touched on was that when we don't come from our hearts, we get depleted. And so I wanted to spend our time today talking about giving, but from a place of overflow and abundance in service of others instead of a place of depletion. I think many of us who are interested in personal development are really beings of connection, and we are very service oriented. We want to make this world a better place. We want to help others, support others. And I think sometimes, I don't know about you, but for me, it's easy to judge myself that if I make a heart-led decision that I'm being selfish and that it's not okay to put myself first or my heart first. But it makes the most sense to put others first and what they want first. And then whatever's left over, that's what I'll give to myself. And we all know that that has such a cost. I'm sure many of you have lived through it. And I just want to take some time to really contemplate what it would look like when we love ourselves first and when we listen to our heart and make choices from a place that gives to ourselves, that fills our cup from a place of overflow and abundance. And I think that's important because it not only sustains us, but it literally generates life and energy and movement inside of us. And that is what leads to sustainable change. And that's why it's actually not selfish to put your heart first. I think we need to be revolutionary lovers and lovers of ourselves, lovers of our life, lovers of the people that we serve. I would love for me, for you to be energized, to be a revolutionary lover, a revolutionary poet, healer, artist, thinker, teacher, creator, advocate, designer, giver, like whatever it is, whatever you feel called to do and who you feel called to be in this world, that there's a revolutionary lover behind it. We come here to grow and to expand, and we do that by nurturing and investing in what our heart wants. It truly is the navigation system of our life, constantly guiding us to the truth that is within, to live our most authentic expression, our purpose, our desires, to what excites us, what makes us curious. And following those heart-led impulses literally gives us life. And it's such like a natural momentum when you follow that. I mean, you can really feel a difference between like you're just maintaining and growing. Maintaining is like the sense that everything is naturally decaying around you and you're putting energy in it just to kind of keep it alive. It doesn't give you life, but it takes a little bit of life, but you're kind of maintaining. You feel stale, you might end up feeling depleted, versus when you're following your curiosity, your desires, your heart, your passion, and you're growing. It's invisible, but it's taking place inside of you. And you can feel the energy behind the growth. It's giving you life. And eventually it shows up in the outside world. This is a silly lesson, but think about you want to take up piano lessons, for example. And first you start with that inner yearning, the curiosity, something inside of you. You're listening to the music, you're enjoying it. It's giving you moments of satisfaction and pleasure to listen to piano, It's filling you with possibility. What if I could play that? What if I learned? It's exciting. And then you're watching videos, you're looking up lessons and teachers, and you're connecting to community. And maybe nothing tangibly has happened yet. You're not creating beautiful music, but there is a sense of growth and this beautiful momentum. It's giving you life, it's feeding you. And of course, then eventually you see it on the outside. You're taking the lessons, you're making music, you're creating, and eventually the outside world catches up with the inside world. And I think that really changes the way that we show up in our life and the way that we interact with people. because it allows us to show up with generosity, with creativity, with possibility when our cup is overflowing because we've followed our hearts. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So the way you show up with yourself is going to be similar with how you show up with everyone else in your life. It's just a natural extension of simply who you are in that moment. Actually, I was reminded of this a few nights ago. I had these two separate encounters. I was in a shift taking care of patients, and my shift was 12 hours. And because I'm connected to you all and in this space and like connected to my inner artist and just expressing, I came into my shift just so full of love and gratitude at the beauty of life. And my thoughts were generous ones and my feelings were generous. And as I was receiving, handoff about patients and thinking about my colleagues, just my job and my team, I just continued to have generous thoughts. And I think I must have been like exuding this because I was really struck by somebody who, actually there's two encounters of this, but I'll just share one, who like called it out to me. And I was like a little bit taken aback, but it made me realize that it is a gift, not just to myself, but to those around me when we operate from our heart and from our overflow. So I was in the beginning of my shift, I'm like still fresh. I'm still freshly coming in and connected to this beauty of life and gratitude for health and all these things. And I'm just like in my zone, do my thing. And I must be interacting with people with like this huge smile on my face and this like kindness or whatever, because I'm just in my little bubble of bliss. And I think I've mentioned this many times. I'm a physician. And so I got called to something by a colleague who I don't usually work with, and they were needing a consultant's help. And because of the position that they were in, they are just kind of at the mercy of like taking whatever help comes their way, whoever happens to be the consultant on and who's available, and it's the right thing for the patient. So they have to be flexible and deal with all kinds of personalities and stresses and all kinds of things that are stressful. And so I was just like passing by in the hall, coming from something, and this person grabbed me and I just gave them my full attention. I looked them in the eyes. They asked me a question and I asked if I could go see and examine their patient and get a little more history. And I was just like fully in and fully invested because that's what I think is the right thing for the patient, not because like it was for the physician, it was for the patient. And I don't think I realized like how much they deal with or other people deal with people just coming in and in bad moods or being stressed or being depleted. I mean, I'm not saying this because I'm perfect. I have so many times when I am giving from depletion and resentment and anger and frustration. It just really struck me this one time because the colleague like literally stopped me after I was done. I gave my consultant advice, and he just very simply reflected back to me like, thank you. That was so refreshing to work with someone who's enjoying what they're doing, who's kind and respectful and giving me their full attention. And I was so struck by that. Like, I'm just being me. I'm just in the zone. I'm just doing my thing. I'm just connected with like my joy for this job. And I didn't think anything about anyone else. That's maybe as selfish as that seems, quote unquote. But this is exactly why I want to bring it to this space, because my goal before I came into work was just to fill up my cup because it felt good to me. Because it felt good to my heart to like, make some poetry or think about this podcast or make some digital art. Like I was just doing it literally for me, quote unquote, being selfish, which I don't think is selfish. I say that on purpose, like that with quotes, because then look at the byproduct of the natural state I was in was to be connected to my sense of purpose, to overflow, to generosity, to kindness. And that really touched somebody. I didn't mean for it to. That wasn't the goal, was to make someone else's shift better. But it was just a byproduct of I was asked to give in the situation because the patient needed something and I gave. And it just happened to be that I was able to give from overflow instead of from depletion. And that then gave to this person in a beautiful, regenerative way when I would have never imagined that I could have had that effect in the world. And again, it's not that I always act that way. Trust me. There's lots of people who know that there's plenty of times I don't act with care or generosity or kindness, or that I can be very judgmental. But it was a beautiful reminder to myself to just bring awareness that I think we can take for granted how we act and how we interact with the world and the natural gifts and the natural light that we bring to the world. Because we don't always see ourselves as role models or leaders or impacting the world. We just think we're moving through it. We're navigating through it. This dude asked me a question. I'm answering the question. That's it. Bada boom, it's just part of the job. But it's not about always what we do. It's about who we are as we do it. And I think it's just such a beautiful way to have more space around this, battling this idea that following our hearts is selfish, when we actually see it reflected in the world as beautiful ways that we give to other people when we are overflowing. And to make this story full circle, by the end of my shift when I was cranky and judgmental and tired, someone else came fresh, someone who was totally connected to their purpose and really overflowed into me. It was the last 30 minutes of a very long shift with a lot of stress. One of the patients unexpectedly deteriorated, and it was stressful, and I was tired, and I didn't want to leave the patient like that. I wanted to stay, make sure we could work through all the potential issues, figure out what was going on, settle the patients, settle that one patient before I left. And so this one colleague of mine came in, and they absolutely love hard problems, complex problems. They love to be a support to other people. And they saw commotion happening outside of this patient's room. And this wasn't even their patient, okay? But this is how connected they were to their heart, which is problem solving and creativity. And so they came over, and they were hands-on, getting in there, examining the patient, doing maneuvers on the patient, pulling in different things, grabbing different equipment, doing different tests, all hands-on, doing all kinds of things. Let's try this thing. Let's try that thing. Not because they were trying to make my shift better, but because they were so in tune with their own natural way of being. If you knew this person, you know that they're so excited by solving hard problems. They're so just their light is turned on by being creative. And I was so grateful that they were connected to that, because obviously the patient received that, but I also received it at the end of my shift when I'm tired and getting a little bit disconnected, and my physiologic tolerance is going down to stay in that kind of high purpose state. And again, this wasn't even their patient. They were just overflowing with ideas and support. And it came so easy to this person. They were so generous. And I think that it fed them. You could tell they were excited by solving the problem. And obviously it then overflowed. It overflowed into helping me. It overflowed into helping our team. It overflowed into helping the patient, because they gave from a place of overflow and generosity and excitement and who they are at their core. And after that shift was over, I just sent this person a long text to express my gratitude. And I thought, wow, what a funny and beautifully synchronistic way to end my shift in gratitude, ending it witnessing and receiving the generous, abundant, beautiful overflow of someone else's heart-led living. And for my science people, science supports this, that joy and satisfaction are distinct from burnout, but obviously they're closely linked. Burnout, as you all probably know, is a state of emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, reduced accomplishment, and it has an inverse correlation with joy, satisfaction, and engagement. And studies show that clinicians who do cultivate engagement, fulfillment, positive emotion are less prone to burnout, and that their energy enhances interactions with patients and with colleagues. And so that comes from articles in Circulation and in Pediatrics, which I'll have linked in the show notes below. And so I just want to, again, wrap up these very long stories with the initial contemplation, which is that joy is not selfish. It's protective, it's transformative for yourself and for others. And whether you realize it or not, you are a role model to each other, to someone else, whether we like it or not. Some days it's hard because we don't get that feedback. We don't get a pat on the back. We don't have the title. We don't have the results or whatever you think you deserve from holding the standard of going above and beyond. But I just want to encourage you to see yourself first as the light that you are and believe that someone out there sees it too. And that when you give to yourself first, fully, it truly does impact those around you from overflow and not from depletion. Even when you don't know it, even when it's not confirmed, even when it's not reflected back to you, you are interacting with the world, with your group, with your partner, with yourself, that what you do matters and how you do it matters and who you are matters. And that it first has to matter to you. The cost is too high for you not to make sure that you are full and overflowing. In the last episode, we talked a lot about oppositional forces like hot and cold. And so in this example, you could boil it down to like, am I overflowing or am I depleted? Or we don't have to see them as oppositional. We can just see them as two ends of the spectrum. And we can see that they're just information for us, for who we want to be. Can you be a revolutionary lover of yourself, of your life, to love yourself fiercely and unapologetically, to plant that seed, to nurture it, to watch it grow inside of you and in your life? I know I've said this before in an earlier episode, but I really do believe that everything in our life boils down to our relationship with ourself. It's like the root of a tree trunk of our life, and every branch that comes off of that tree trunk is just a different hat we wear, a different role we play. One branch might be a caregiver. One branch might be an employee. One branch might be, whatever, fill in the blank. But each of those branches are hopefully yielding fruits or flowers or buds, but all of that can only happen if the trunk is strong and the roots are deep. And I believe that the least selfish thing you can do is fiercely love yourself and honor your heart and what it desires. Love doesn't always look like being soft or saying yes or making sure others like you. Actually, sometimes that's the opposite of loving yourself. That might be betraying yourself so that other people feel comfortable, so that other people like you. Sometimes love looks like boundaries. Love looks like no. Love looks like rest. But the difference is it's never to take away from someone else or punish someone or something. It's because you love yourself, you respect yourself first. And from that place of dignity to yourself, of self-love and self-fulfillment, that you have the strength to help someone else or to say no or to support someone else in dreaming their dreams because you have a reservoir. Can you imagine what this world would be if we all stopped giving from depletion and expectation and resentment and bitterness and we started giving from overflow and generosity? But that takes a really mature relationship with yourself first, one that is brave enough to face the truth, to be accountable, to forgive, to heal, to hold pain, to take ownership, to be empowered, to release others, and to release ourselves, to forgive ourselves, to see ourselves as whole, as worthy, as completely unattached to any performance, outcome, measurement, judgment, productivity, accolade. And that's really hard to do. Some people are going to hear this last part and think it's way too idealistic, and that's fine. I respect that we're all in different parts of the journey. And like I've said before, this is just a space of contemplation for you to find your own truths, either through resonance or through contrast. And I continue to contemplate and ponder my own contemplations, even when I think I've found like peace with a choice or alignment with a choice. I challenge myself to think of it again and allow myself the option to choose something different. My greatest wish for myself, for you, and for all of us is to be the greatest loves of our life, is to live completely from our hearts. Not only will our lives be richer for it, but I truly believe it will make humanity richer for it. So for our ending tradition, here are a few more questions to ask yourself. Where in your life do you have beliefs that pouring into yourself is selfish? Can you see examples in your own life when you give from depletion, it not only hurts you, but it actually hurts others? And that when you give from abundance, overflow, love, generosity, it not only gives to you, but gives to those around you, even without it intending to. How can you start today to care for yourself as deeply as you care for others? And I don't necessarily mean like in quantity, but in quality. Meaning, even if something is small, 5 minutes alone for making a routine doctor's appointment, for example, how can you do that with as much love and advocacy and care as you do that for someone else that you love? Okay, I'm wishing you all play, possibility, and peace, wishing you to feel supported in this space. And I'm so, so honored to be a part of your soul tribe. Sending you love and see you next week. Bye.